Welcome to this Austrian Corporate Treasury Association video. I'm Eleanor Hill, editor of TMI magazine, and I'm delighted to be working with ACTA on this series of member interviews. For those of you who don't know, ACTA was formally established in 2017. It's one of the fastest growing and most active Treasury associations under the EACT umbrella, and it has a number of important working groups underway. Today, I'm delighted to have Florian Heindl, who is Group Treasurer from FACC. The company is a global aerospace leader in designing, developing, and manufacturing aircraft components and systems. So we're going to chat through Florian's career a little bit in Treasury, learn a little bit more about him as an ACTA member. Florian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you here. So wondering if you wouldn't mind kicking us off with a little bit of an idea as to why you decided on a career in Treasury. Was there a particular light bulb moment for you when you thought, yes, I desperately want to be a treasurer?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show and welcome to all the listeners. There was not a real light bulb moment, I would say. My father was a banker at a local bank in our hometown, so I was more or less every day confronted with money issues, people wanting money, people depositing money, so it was always money around, I would say, and at some point in time it was quite logical that I entered a career path dealing with money.
Oh, that absolutely makes sense. And it tends to go one of either way when your father or mother has a particular profession. You either want to follow it or do something entirely different. But interestingly, my father was a banker as well. So there you go.
The other choice would have been a teacher because that was my mother's profession.
Ah, okay. Fabulous stuff. Oh, well, we're lucky to have you in the Treasury profession for sure. Looking back, Florian, over the last couple of years, it's been a very challenging environment for everyone. Have there been any specific professional challenges that you've faced? And I wonder how you've overcome those.
I joined FACC in 2016 as the head of Treasury back then. And over the years, we merged two other departments into my department. First one was 2018 was enterprise risk management. We had a manager back then who left the company. And we made up our minds, okay, what can we do? Can we integrate it in Treasury? And I said, okay, let's try. So in 2018, we integrated enterprise risk management into my department. And 2021, we had the same situation again when the responsible manager for investor relations left our company. And it was the same decision again. Ask Florian, can you do it? And I said, well, I can do it. And we integrated the investor relations side into Treasury, which made a lot of sense, obviously, because now we have the debt capital market story and the equity capital market story in one department. So these were, of course, quite some challenges. I think me and my team, we managed them quite well.
What do you think was the secret to managing that as well as you did?
I think the secret is the team. In the end, three different responsibilities: Treasury, enterprise risk management, investor relations. You cannot do this obviously on your own for a stock listed company. So you need tremendous people in your team. I'm lucky to have that. Responsibilities are shared in the end. Everyone has some kind of specialty, treasury, risk management, investor relations. And I think that's the key for success. Yeah? Not relying on yourself too much, distribute responsibilities into your teams.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like that was a great achievement in itself, managing those transitions. With that journey, or maybe some of the other journeys that you've gone through in your Treasury career, has there been a specific learning opportunity that you think of? Have there been any decisions that you would make differently or things that you would approach in another kind of way?
Learning opportunities, a lot. Yeah, bad decisions, I would say, hopefully not that much, but bad decisions are always the entry point for learning. Yeah? And if you don't learn from your bad decisions, you're obviously doing something wrong. Integrating risk management and investor relations into my departments. In both professions, I would say I was not the perfect expert to do that, so I had to rely on other people. We had to make difficult decisions in the end, where we don't have all the information necessary. So at some point in time, you have to be bold, you have to be brave, and just do it. Yeah? So that's one of my biggest learnings, I would say, over my Treasury career.
Yeah, absolutely. Do have to take some risks, calculated risks that sometimes, as you say, just get on with it. But what would you say are the qualities that make a good Treasury leader?
Be curious, be bold, be brave. In my example, don't be afraid of the uncharted territories and try to find the right people for your team. Never try to do all the stuff alone. Try to find the right people, staff your team accordingly. And I think that's one key to my success, or to the success of FACC in terms of Treasury and the department we have built, that I have the right people to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned uncharted territory there, Florian. So if we look out to, say, 2025, what do you think might change in the Treasury sphere? What will be most different, do you think?
It already started, I would say. Digitalisation will not go away. Yeah, so this is something that will ever increase, having big impact on Treasury, on the processes we have, on the systems we use. But there is another thing which is getting more and more important in Treasury, and these are the ESG and CSR issues. In my responsibility for investor relations, I can tell you that it's much more important in that area right now, but I think it's getting more and more traction also in the Treasury sense on the debt capital markets, impacting funding conditions in the future. So this is something we definitely have to take a look at.
Absolutely. And I know ACTA is actually very active in the sustainability ESG space as well, and lots going on there. I wanted to just come back to a point that you sort of touched on earlier, Florian, which was around finding the right people for your team and building the correct team. So if you look a little bit to the future, do you think you might be recruiting for slightly different skills in your Treasury team? Things like data analytics, or even someone who is very well versed in ESG, as we've just spoken about.
You just mentioned before 2025. I would say in this time span, looking forward, almost 4 years now, I would not expect that the recruiting profile of my team, of my current team, will be tremendously different, or that there is a need for a very specialized person in data mining or something like that. But looking beyond 2025, this will definitely be the case. Yeah. So roles will be changing. It always depends on the maturity of your organization, of course. Smaller companies might have different needs than large corporations with large treasuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes sense. And what about diversity and inclusion within the team, Florian? How important is that?
Very important. I think this is great value in my team as well. I have a very diverse team, I would say. I was looking, especially when we hired someone for the enterprise risk management section in my department, I took the approach to bring in a guy from a completely different angle, with completely different education, not the typical finance guy, more or less a technician. And this was a great value added for this specific position. So yeah, keep your eyes open and not always try the obvious. Yeah, hiring the finance guys. So be curious, be brave. Yeah, try something new, and this is something we did in the past already.
Definitely time for thinking outside the box and bringing in someone with a little bit of a different perspective. So we've spoken a lot about your team there and work, but when you're away from the office, what do you like to do in your spare time, Florian? Do you have a hobby, for example?
In private, I would say I'm very much like traveling and hiking. So I'm working for an aerospace company. So traveling is part of the DNA of our company, of course. That's basically it in my spare time.
What would you say, Florian, is the number one thing keeping treasurers awake at night right now?
Speaking of myself, I would say 2 issues. Number one issue is a resurgence of COVID, meaning that we could have COVID clusters in our company, shutting down assembly lines or factory halls. So this is not specifically Treasury related, but part of my responsibility in terms of risk management as well. And the other thing is Treasury related in the end, and in payment services, etc., when it comes to cyber risks.
Yeah, and that certainly resonates with what we're hearing from a TMI perspective from other treasurers, and cybersecurity just so challenging right now, but important to keep on top of it. Finally, Florian, wondering if you've got any advice that you'd give to a newcomer to the Treasury profession.
Yeah, newcomers to Treasury, I would say be curious and try to increase your skills in Treasury-related professions. Yeah, when you look to accounting, controlling, enterprise risk management, investor relations. Those are all related professions, I would say. And I think the trend for the future is that all those specific departments will at some point of time merge. So it will definitely be an asset having skills in all those related areas as well.
Well, Florian, thank you so much. It's been great chatting with you today. Thank you for taking the time out to share your experience and insights. I particularly like the message around being bold and just getting on with it, as well as sort of thinking outside the box a little bit for your team as we're looking ahead. And for anyone watching, wanting to hear from other ACTA members, please head over to that ACTA website where you'll find further videos and also more information about ACTA itself.
Thanks for having me on the show, and thank you to all the listeners. Goodbye.